everyone, I hope you're all having a lovely day. My name is Kana, and I'm going to be talking about the difference between the iPhone X and the iPhone 13. I will also be mentioning iPhone XR, 12, 11, the other phones basically that do exist. So that way, in case you are buying an iPhone for the first time, you have some information regarding what iPhone is probably best for you, or if by any chance you have a current existing iPhone, maybe have some sort of insight on if upgrading your iPhone is worth it. Kind of depends on which iPhone you have though, but I'll talk about that. To start off though, in case you don't know, the iPhone X is one of the first phones to ever have Face ID, at least from Apple. Of course, Android phones have, for example, I have a Samsung phone and it does have like sort of really good cameras, for example, but I'm not going to get into Android phones and any sort of depth camera stuff. But basically, though, iPhone X was the first Face ID compatible phone from Apple, and the thing is that ever since new phones started coming out, iPhone X has a bad reputation regarding its camera. Now, I'm not really much of a camera savvy person. I don't know much regarding specs of cameras, but what I have Googled, and according to what this one Reddit thread have mentioned, which I will link in the description, which I definitely recommend if you want to, I guess, get some more insight from other people regarding, what do other people think regarding the iPhone comparison for VTubing. But basically, though, when it comes to the iPhone X, the camera type is, at least from what I've read, it's a 7MP camera, while iPhone XR, 11, 12, 13, XS, basically the newer phones, they all have the same camera, by the way. They all have the same camera, which is the 12MP camera, ultra wide range or something. I think for iPhone X, it's just a simple, a really nice wide range, but it's not the best. It's the XR and above that has the whole range. So basically, for iPhone X, let's say if you're gonna turn your head to the side, right? Like what I'm doing, I'm turning my head fully to my left side right now. Now I can't really for my case with how I've set my environment set up and how I set up my mounting, I can't do a full crazy degree turn, because then I'll start losing tracking. Keep that in mind. But, however, I can pretty much turn fully, almost fully to the side of my face, or to this other side, and basically my face will still keep on tracking. But the iPhone X, whenever I turn fully this way, this much, it would not track. It'll just stop, because the range is quite limiting. Once again, though, I can understand why there's still some people who still buy iPhone X to this very day. I've heard this one scenario from somebody where basically they said that they found an iPhone X for about $90 at a local place, and that was pretty much what the best they can afford. So I guess depending on, now once again though, budget wise though, regarding the iPhone X and the XR, because iPhone 13, iPhone 12 might be a bit more hefty of a price. It kind of depends on you. Now, I would recommend, just want to quickly say this, I definitely would recommend refurbished iPhones, but I'll get to that later. But basically though, regarding iPhone X and XR, they pretty much have similar pricing. So to be honest, you'll get a much better value in how much you're putting money into regarding the iPhone. You'll have better value with the XR than the X, because online, they're about the same price. But if you could, let's say you did found a $90 iPhone X, someone is selling it and that's all you can afford, or maybe you were gifted, maybe a sibling or something, or relative or a friend gave you an iPhone X as a present or something for free, that's perfectly fine as well. The thing too is that while yes, iPhone X does have not the best of the best camera like XR 13 and all that, the thing though is that VC Face and VTube Studio, because I do have both a 3D and a 2D model, I've tested this before many times, they do have settings where you can basically make your tracking look good, to compensate, basically for the tracking. So with how the range is for the iPhone X, you can definitely make it where your model moves a lot more with VC Face and VTube Studio. Just by VC Face, you adjust the movement range. VTube Studio, you just adjust the body and the head rotation. That's kind of it, really. Of course, for 2D models, it depends on your rigging, to be honest. That's really important. If your model's too stiff, you're not going to notice that much of a difference, which I will get into regarding the 2D stuff, though, which we'll get to that. But overall, though, just in a nutshell, regarding the comparison with iPhone X and the iPhone X and the 13, excuse me, I definitely would say yes, the iPhone 13, at least what I got, is a lot better. Now, here's the thing I do want to mention too, is that regarding the iPhone 13 though, because some people might be wondering, why did I get the iPhone 13 when I could have just bought an iPhone XR, even though they're the same camera? Well, the thing about why I got the 13 was mainly the processing chip. Now, pretty much, you can actually compare, for example, the 12 and the 13. There's I think there's on Back Market, they have like a benchmark sort of results thing, and they explain everything. Other websites also do that too, where they show you the benchmark per, for the iPhone. But basically, from what I've researched, the iPhone 13 has a newer chip, a processing chip, than the iPhone 12. And the thing is that I wanted to have at least more processing power, since I do use tracking for long periods of time. Not just for streaming, but I also do it for like mocap takes, or maybe if I'm hanging out with my friends and I want to use my model and such. Basically, I wanted to have a very good processing power on the iPhone. That way, basically. Because what I've noticed with my iPhone 13 is that my mocap lag that I usually get on iFacial Mocap and Face Motion 3D has gotten a lot less. So basically it's about 3-ish hours. So iPhone X, after 30 minutes to an hour, I start getting mocap lag. But on my iPhone 13, it takes about almost 3-ish hours before it starts getting mocap lag, which is really nice. And I stream for about 3-ish hours, 4-ish hours, that's for me. But the other thing as well, I am aware that yes, iFacial Mocap and Face Motion 3D has the button for the long streaming optimization setting. I know that option does exist, but there's also times where, once again, I do like to have the face enabled, mainly not for streaming, but for like other stuff, because I also do some mocap work behind the scenes. So that's kind of another thing, but either way, that's just a me thing though. But either way, the iPhone 13 does have a newer processing chip, but that's kind of an extra, and I guess a little overkill. To be honest, it really just depends on you. For me, I spent about $500 on the iPhone 13 refurbish, and yes, for my refurbished phone, I did see some scratches on it, which is understandable. It's a refurbished phone for a reason, but it functions perfectly well as if it was a new phone. So that's pretty nice. But the thing though is that if you are a budget, if you're in a strict budget, I definitely would just recommend just get the XR. That's it. The XR is about $200 refurbished. You could probably get it for cheaper, like $180, or maybe in a local area, depending on where you are. For me, I can't, for me, it's a lot hard. I don't know why, but trying to get like certain tech parts is really hard for me in my area. I don't know why, it just is. But basically, maybe in your local area, they might sell an iPhone XR for way cheaper, but really just depends though. But either way though, that's at least my whole sort of overview regarding the iPhone X and the 13. If you, let's say you are like an iPhone 12 user, for example, and I guess you want more processing power, you could technically upgrade to the iPhone 13 if you wish. But once again, if you already have an XR 12, or basically any phone that's higher than an XR, you're perfectly fine. If you don't have an iPhone, honestly, just really depends on your budget, and it also just depends on, it just kind of really just depends, but even then, because once again, it shouldn't really be too hard of a choice, because the thing is that You could choose XR, for budget reasons and stuff, and once again, same camera. You could choose a 13 because of the newer processing chip, or if you do plan on actually having the iPhone, not just for face tracking, but maybe as your primary phone, that's a bit different-ish, which that's a completely different story if you plan on getting an iPhone for your normal stuff, basically. Now, but hopefully, with that information, that should hopefully at least help you out getting an idea of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the comparison on the quality. So in this first clip though, I will be showing basically iFacial mocap. This is the setup. So 3D model with iFacial mocap at default settings. And basically there'll be the iPhone XR, or iPhone X, excuse me, I keep mistaking iPhone X and XR, but the iPhone X and the iPhone 13 side by side compared, so you can see the quality difference basically. And I will basically voice over the video. And then in the next clip, I will also be going over for a live 2D model basically, so that way you can understand I guess how the tracking quality differs for the 2D model, which, spoiler alert, I've hardly seen a difference with my 2D model. I see more of a difference with my 3D model. But that's probably just because of my rigging as it is incomplete, but you be the judge of that. But anyways, let's get to the clips. So basically what you see in the 3D model, which what I'm doing right now is my first ever voiceover on any review, but basically what you see on the left side is the iPhone X tracking quality, and then on the right side is the iPhone 13 quality. I will say though, I sadly couldn't be able to get it working at the same time, like it's a perfect sync, because VC Face kind of acted up on me when it comes to connecting both iPhones. Once again, there might be a way of getting them to sync, together for comparison reasons, but this is the best I can get basically. But either way though, what you're gonna see on the iPhone X is that when I move my head completely to the left and the right and even up, you will see that basically the tracking pretty much stops. The tracking on the face, like the blend shapes, are still good, but range-wise, it kind of sucks. And as for the iPhone 13, you see that the range is a lot more better, especially for a 3D model. And pretty much overall, it's very good. Now you definitely will comment as well. The iPhone X is at the iOS 15 because, as reported by an individual, that when you upgrade to the iOS 16, your face tracking is gonna change, where basically it's a lot harder to close your mouth, and also you're gonna be more smiley. Now, while this is true, and Apple is never going to change that, I will say you can still correct the blend shape with iFacial mocap or Face Motion 3D. Some other programs, like let's say for example Roku Face Capture, might give you some problems because you can't edit the blend shape. But either way, you got iFacial mocap and Face Motion 3D, and even VTube Studio, when you're using it with VC Face, you could still adjust the blend shape, settings or parameters for VTube Studio, so that way you can make sure that if you are too smiley on your model, you can correct that. Another thing too to comment as well, if you are an iPhone X user, technically you can also just use VC Face's movement range to kind of add more movement to your character, but once again, keep in mind, even with that, you will still have limited range. Also, another comment too, because of the iPhone X's processor being very old, I think it's a quad core something, basically the iPhone X will probably get something called mocap lag because of overheating. Probably in about like 30 minutes to an hour, you'll probably experience mocap lag when it comes to iFacial mocap or Face Motion 3D. I'm not sure about other programs, but that's something I've experienced. But as for the iPhone 13, I literally had the iPhone for about 3 hours, and I don't get any mocap lag until the 3 hours are, I guess, up. But definitely I do recommend, if you really want to reduce mocap lag, please get some sort of like iPhone cooler, so that way you can make sure to keep the iPhone cool. You can get one on Amazon, so that way you can keep the iPhone cool, so you don't have to experience the mocap lag and having to restart the app just to get working basically. Now as for the 2D models here, there's something I do need to there's something I do want to address when it comes to 2D models. When it comes to the quality of the rig, it really matters a lot. Now, yes, like what you saw on my 3D model, the range, you saw a difference in that. 2D models is going to be a lot harder to probably tell depending on the rig type. Because what I call, there's like basically a stiff rig, and then there's the other type of rig that's a bit more, I guess, dynamic. So just keep this in mind when it comes to your 2D rig. If you have a very stiff rig, the quality of the tracking is going to be kind of confusing because you'll probably might not be able to tell a difference because of the rigging quality. So if you were a stiff rig for your live stream model, I think iPhone X or iPhone XR or any iPhone, I think it's going to be just fine. I mean, yeah, once again, if you have like an iPhone XR, I still recommend it so that way you're tracking, you can have better range with your tracking though. However, if you're thinking that it's going to make your head move a lot more, I definitely recommend please contact your rigger or maybe look up tutorials. If you rig your own model, look up some tutorials so that way you can increase your range when it comes to a 2D model, or basically it just really depends on who's rigging the model basically, and if they can do more head movement for your model basically. But even though it's quite tricky to tell on the 2D model, like if you have more range, you should be able to tell. But like I said, stiff rigging is going to be harder. But pretty much, from what I see on my model is kind of a sort of stiff rig. It still has the head movement, and I can tell that the tracking is very good on the iPhone 13, while the iPhone X, the range is, shorter. But for some people might be like saying that, oh, for the 2D model, the tracking looks the same because, once again, stiff rig or big range of rigging. Basically, the rig matters a lot, the rigging quality and everything. Just like what I can also say for a 3D model. Just because you get an iPhone 13 does not mean it makes your blend shapes better. It really also just depends on the quality of how or whoever is rigging your blend shapes. If you rigged it, or someone else rigged it, or you auto-rigged your blend shape for 3D, the rigging quality matters so much if you really want to take advantage of the quality that either iPhone XR or iPhone X or 13, any iPhone, really just depends on the rigging quality. But let's go ahead and kind of close this up so that way, we can summarize kind of like the, I guess, sort of, pros and cons sort of thing. Alright, so now that you've seen the quality of the tracking when it comes to iPhone X and iPhone 13, or I guess, other iPhones that are greater than the iPhone X, basically on both 3D and 2D, allow me to, I guess, give you a sort of overview on, I guess, my recommendations basically on, iPhone. So to start off, let's start off with the iPhone X basically. Now, iPhone X, I mainly only recommend it if by any chance you are an extreme budget user and the only thing you can afford is a very old iPhone X basically. Or if you are gifted, like if someone gifted you the iPhone X for free, which, a friend of mine was gifted an iPhone X before. Basically, if the iPhone X is pretty much all you got and you can't afford upgrading your iPhone, you can stay with the iPhone X. It's perfectly fine. So for 3D, like I said, I've used the iPhone X for 2 years, and even though despite the range, I still had a very fun time with the iPhone X. But I only recommend it if you're basically an extreme budget user, or if you are given it for free by someone else basically, or something. I do recommend that if you could go XR and above, I definitely do recommend that sort of upgrade, as basically you'll get more range, and basically as you upgrade to more iPhones, basically, from XR to 13, your main advantage upgrading to 13, like I said, is definitely the processing. So if you really want, I guess, more power on your iPhone and more smoothness basically, I definitely recommend upgrading to the iPhone 13. However, once again, if you are an extreme budget user, I do not recommend upgrading to the iPhone 13, at least at best for budget users who are not extreme budget users. I definitely recommend you can buy a $200 iPhone XR on back market, or maybe if you could find one on Amazon, I think. I don't know. I don't think Amazon has $200 iPhone XRs. I could be wrong. I know that Walmart's online shop also sells iPhone XRs and X's for a good price. I think they're about 300 though, so your better bet might be back market. There's also eBay, but eBay's a bit more riskier, so be careful on eBay though. And besides that, I'll make sure to link in the description, so if you are interested in buying a refurbished iPhone and you don't know where to get them, check the description below. I should have links so that way you can be able to, pick out which iPhone you want and just buy it from there. And trust me, I will make sure to put in the description stores that I actually do trust. I'll even put eBay, but then again, eBay I don't really trust though. That's only if you know how to read the reviews and such, or if you can contact the seller to make sure they're legit, basically. But my biggest recommendation is back market. But either way, iPhone X, best, I've already explained, extreme budget, but I don't recommend it. If you can upgrade to iPhone XR, please do. But basically though, when it comes to 3D and 2D though, that's the thing I do want to get into. Basically, when it comes to upgrading your iPhone, so let's say for example, you're going from iPhone X and you want to plan on, basically upgrading your iPhone from X to XR or 12 or whatever. There's some things to keep in mind. Now for 3D though, I definitely would say I do recommend it, because since 3D, it's 3 dimensions and you have basically a whole, full range of movement and such, you can definitely take advantage of the whole range, the whole range movements with the iPhone, an upgrade iPhone that's older than iPhone X, because the range, you can actually see the quality of the tracking much better on the 3D model than the 2D model. For 2D, it really just depends. Once again, if you have a very stiff rig, I honestly would recommend probably save that money for a new iPhone. Probably maybe improving your rig so you have more range, unless by any chance if you want a stiff rigging for aesthetic reasons, because 2D, some people like the stiff movement for aesthetic. Basically, you could, but then again, I wouldn't recommend if you have a very stiff rig on your 2D model. If you do have a lot of range, which once again I recommend contact your 2D rigger about the head rotation and such. Basically, if you have more range with your 2D model and you do want to improve your tracking, then I do recommend probably upgrading to iPhone XR or 13 or whatever the heck, newer iPhones than iPhone X basically. But either way though, there's also, if you want, I guess, even more perfect tracking, so like you have even more range on your head and you have perfect eye tracking, you could look into Tobii eye tracking, but then again, the iPhone XR and above should already have pretty much a good, quality of tracking. Of course, I do recommend please play with your settings more. I also need to play with my settings as well, and also do some corrections when it comes to my actual blend shapes. But either way, you can upgrade as a 2D model if it just really depends on if you really want to spend the money. If you're, once again, I recommend XR, but if you want to go crazy like what I did, because I wanted more processing power on my iPhone as well as getting better face tracking or quality of the tracking, definitely you could, either way you can also go for 13 if you wish, but keep in mind though, the 13s are probably around 500, XR is about 200 basically. Now, hopefully that should explain pretty much everything when it comes to both 3D, 2D, and kind of my recommendations. If you have any other questions about this, because I know this can be a bit confusing for some people, please let me know. Another thing too as well, if by any chance, let's say you're looking at someone else's comparison between iPhone X and XR or something like that, and you see that the tracking quality just looks the same to you, then I wouldn't recommend upgrading at all. Just stick with the current iPhone you have and just, have fun basically, and just keep you can keep upgrading your model, but most importantly, just have fun with your model, have fun streaming and being a VTuber basically. I'm the one who likes to I'm the one that likes to spend on mocap stuff because mocap is my passion basically. And I almost forgot another fun fact I do have is that my recommendation, if you want to, I guess, improve a bit more on your range of motion, me personally, I set my iPhone to where it's sideways, so instead of the phone being upward, it's on its side. That actually does kind of help out with at least, basically sort of increasing your range. It does work pretty alright with iPhone X. Again, you're still gonna have some limitation in comparison with iPhone XR or 13 and such, but I definitely recommend try it out. It's probably gonna help you out a lot. And I would only say you could still have your phone upwards though. I would definitely say, like, let's say for example you have full body mocap, so a mocap suit or VR mocap or mocapi for example. Maybe it kind of depends. If you're just sitting down and you just have a tripod on your phone, maybe you could still keep it as sideways so you can still have the tracking range high. But if you're gonna have a helmet, then for the helmet, I would recommend just have it upward in that sort of case, basically. So, yeah. But let me know if you guys have any other questions when it comes to, mocap related stuff or 3D stuff. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'll leave my socials here. Basically video edited. So if you need to contact me, just contact me below. I recommend Discord the most because, Discord, you can send screenshots of your 3D issue or anything like that, basically. So, yeah. And you can also comment on YouTube. I check my YouTube comments every single day, so I'll try my best to answer as soon as possible. But yeah, either way though, have a lovely day, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Hey, saying to that, everyone. I hope to see you guys next time. Okay, bye.